Hello, and welcome to the Hybrid School Builders Podcast. I am your host, Rebecca Foley, and I am so glad you are joining me today. I am a fellow grassroots founder who is hoping to make your journey toward founding a sustainable hybrid school a little bit easier. If you are dreaming of starting a hybrid school, or perhaps you've already gotten started, you are in the right place. Join me as we dive into real stories, practical tips, and hard-won lessons that I have learned to help you launch and grow your program with confidence. Remember, building a hybrid school is not just about creating a business or creating jobs. It's not even about just serving the children who attend the program. It's literally about reshaping the landscape of education, and we can do that one community, one entrepreneur, and one program at a time. Hey guys, so today I wanted to talk about something that I touched on, I did a whole episode on it, and maybe the second or third episode, about you as a founder and some of the skills and experience that go into actually starting a program and seeing it through and succeeding at it. You would not be alone if you have thought, well, I can't do that. Or maybe you got started and you're like, this is way too much work. I don't have what it takes. Okay, you wouldn't be alone if you felt that way. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit because that's probably not true, okay? So I'm not going to give you a list of people who can't start programs and people who can start programs, and you have to have this set of skills and you can't have that set of skills or you're going to fail. I'm not going to do that because I think that what it really comes down to is grit, okay? I think that anybody who really has the determination to stick it out and work really hard and learn what they have to learn can make it happen. And I'm just going to call that grit. Now, having said that, of course, there will be people who find certain parts of the process easier and people who will find other parts of the process easier. Now, if you listened to that earlier episode, I talked about the working genius model that Patrick Lencioni talks about. That can be a helpful tool. I talked a little bit about Myers-Briggs and how that can also be helpful. And those are really just getting to know yourself so that you can just kind of take a minute to stop and say, what kind of person am I? And what goes into doing this project? And where am I going to feel if I'm really stretching myself? Or where am I going to feel like, man, I just do not have it in me to do this? If you can go into it where you expect certain parts of the project are not going to be using your strengths, it helps you not get as discouraged because you know they're coming and you know you're going to need some support. It doesn't mean you should quit, okay? Now, having said that, a lot of businesses start and do not succeed, okay? And other businesses start and they do okay for a year or two maybe, and then people burn out, all right? Now, part of my mission in delivering what I am trying to deliver to you guys through the podcast and through the courses that I'm building on my site, I got started on my launching course a couple weeks ago, so hopefully I'll have that finished by the end of the year, is helping you to not get as burned out because you don't have to reinvent the wheel on everything, and also helping you to just equip yourself by knowing how you fit into the picture, okay? Additionally, walking you through some of the preparation things so that you don't get yourself in a situation where, one, nobody in your community really wants what you're offering for whatever reason. Not because it's a bad idea, but it could just be because of the competition. It could be because of the demographics. It could be because of how far away people live. There's any number of reasons that has nothing to do with you or how good your program is or might be that could cause a program to not really flourish, okay? Although I think that where there's people, there's probably going to be a market for something like this if there isn't anything at all like it. So unless there's 3 hybrid schools already in your town, then, you probably are going to be offering something new. You just might have to accommodate it to where you live and what the competition is, okay? Your 3-day model might have to become a 1-day model, or your 12 hours a week might have to become 8 hours a week so you keep the tuition down or whatever. I talk about that in the market validation process. So that's one of the things, is just preparation. And then your budget, making sure that you have a planning budget that goes out a couple of years and that you kind of back off from that and cut where you need to the first year, which is probably going to be a lot of work. Okay. But you expect that, and you're heading toward a place where you're going to get paid to do the job. You're going to be able to hire out the things that you need help with in the long run. Okay. Those two things will go a long way toward making sure that the program succeeds in the long run, making sure there's a market for it, one, and do that before you pour yourself into a whole bunch of it. And two, counting your costs so that you don't burn yourself out and you're not making any money and then you have to close because you're so burned out doing all of the things. The entrepreneurial mind is generally, this is my own, Rebecca's definition here, is somebody who's able to take the risks because of the vision that they see, and they're willing to stick out toward the vision. They can see ahead and they can see what it is that they want to create. And that is really the spark of the entrepreneur, I think. Okay. And a lot of you probably have that. And that, I think, kind of lights the fire. And then you just have to feed it with your grit and good information and, educated guesses. So entrepreneurial people have to be able to see possibilities. Now, some people aren't as gifted in seeing possibilities. They tend to see all the things that could go wrong. They might see all the details. They might see just the thing in front of them, okay? And that is a really valuable skill, but it can sometimes get in the way of being more entrepreneurial. Now, if you're one of those people who are like that, that is one of the reasons why it's important to recognize that in yourself and say, okay, I tend to be like this. I tend to see all of the things that could go wrong, or I don't tend to see the possibilities. An example, someone who walks into a dirty, dingy room with marks on the wall and an old carpet, and their first reaction is, oh, this could look so nice if we do this, this, and this. And they think, we'll figure it out. We can find this here, and we can paint this wall, and let's clean off the window, and let's put a curtain here. And they see a possibility in the room, okay? Somebody who walks in and is like, oh, this is awful. And that's kind of where they stop. That can become a bit of a detriment because you're going to run into, dingy rooms on your journey, and you want to be able to see the possibilities beyond that. But again, that doesn't have to be a besetting problem, because that is a strength in a lot of areas. Being able to see the details, usually the flip side of that is actually being able to be very realistic about what needs to be done and thinking about a lot of the details that need to happen. And you need both gifts. So the entrepreneurial mind has to be able to see possibilities, has to be able to stick it out, and has to not get as bogged down by the challenges, okay? If you have that spark of a vision, you can kind of develop that entrepreneurial mind, even if it might not be your, natural bent from birth, okay? Now, the other side of that is that the people who can actually see things through and finish things, that is also extremely valuable, all right? Now, I personally tend to be more of the entrepreneur, okay? I tend to see possibilities and get ideas and all of that. But then I get bogged down when it comes to all of the details. I'll kind of brush over like, well, we'll figure that out. There has to be a way to solve that problem because I'm looking beyond at the possibilities. But then when it gets down to like, sometimes I don't see something that actually could be a big problem. I don't see it. I see it and I'm just like, we'll deal with it when we get there, which can be good or it can be bad. Okay. So if you're the person who's like, oh no, if we haven't figured out every single detail and we don't know how to do every single thing, you have to balance that out with like, well, there might be more possibilities and more solutions than you're seeing. So be optimistic because maybe the obstacles that you're seeing actually aren't as big as you might first think. So it's kind of this balance between being able to see beyond, being able to see the big picture, being able to see the vision, being able to see where you're going, having that like missional, visional ability to be like, this is what I'm building. This is what I want. I'm going to make it happen somehow, but I'm going to do it in an educated way. I'm going to prepare. I'm going to make sure my market wants it. I'm going to count my costs going into it. I'm going to make sure I don't burn myself out by putting myself in a place where I'm constantly using the, my weaker areas and I just tire myself out. I'm going to make sure that I build into my budget, being able to get people to help me, pay people to help me. I'm going to maybe just put some support people around me friends or family, as I'm in this first part of it before I have a lot of money to pay actual employees and say, oh, well, my husband or my dad or my brother are really good at seeing possibilities where I see obstacles, or maybe they're good at helping you think about the details where you tend to just be drowning in all of the wonderful possibilities and ideas. Okay. Someone in your life who is like that, who you can bounce ideas off of, or if you're getting discouraged with something, you can just bounce it off of them and you could kind of fill that gap with support around you. And then hopefully you kind of learn to build that team. And what's valuable in a team is you go into hiring people, you can look for some of those skills that you know will fill your gaps as you go forward, and you're building out a team that will help each other and fill each other's gaps and move into a sustainable and healthy teamwork. Okay. So what kind of person can start a hybrid school? Someone who has a passion for the vision, who understands what it is they're trying to build. I would say that's the most important thing. And a close second to that is somebody who has the grit to stick it out. And third is somebody who takes the time to just slow down, prepare, make sure that the market is ready for it, make sure that they know where they're headed, make sure that they've counted their costs, matched that up, planned it out, and then moved into just applying that grit and working toward that vision. I really think that those three things are all it really takes to get a successful program off the ground. Okay. So I hope you find that encouraging, not discouraging. Just fill your gaps, do your preparation, and make sure that you're really clear on your mission and your vision. And you can make it happen if you stick it out. We need entrepreneurs. We need people with vision. We need people to have the grit and determination to make changes. Once things are flowing along and more mature and you're in it and you have a job and people around you have a job and you're serving kids, it's well worth the work. Thanks so much for listening today. Don't forget to subscribe and make sure you check out the resources I am developing at startahybridSchool.com. Send me an email anytime. I would love to hear from you. Until next time.